Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. This article, man, like I didn't get to read the article because you have to pay for it, but
Yeah,
it
I
said, the
know.
headline said mystery illness. I was
I
going to
know.
the bathroom 30 times a day. What is that?
So it was kind of, I don't know what they were trying to achieve with the article, but it's not a mystery illness. It's actually ulcerative colitis. It's like Crohn's disease. It's similar to what George St. Pierre had, and a few other UFC fighters have had it, like John Hathaway. I'm not sure if you remember him,
Oh yeah.
for example. And it's a pretty serious, severe autoimmune condition. And it was kind of a mystery illness, I guess, because the doctors didn't really know what was going on originally when I first got my symptoms. And then once it got really bad really quickly and I went to hospital, they found out that, yeah, it was a form of inflammatory bowel disease. So very, very kind of weird turn of events. So yeah, that's what that article was all about, man. Yeah.
Trippy, man. Trippy. How has it been dealing with that since you've been diagnosed?
Um, Tough, mate. Well, originally it was really tough. I first got my symptoms after my fight in 2019,
Hmm.
at the end of 2019, and then during 2020, I spent most of my time like in and out of hospital, just like trying to survive. Really, it wasn't like I couldn't do day to day things rather than fighting and training and all that. So I finally got back to some sort of training routine, and then 2021 was pretty rough again. And then I found I went from the public system in Australia to the private system, which is the best decision I made. And I met a really good doctor who works with a lot of sports people, and he got me onto the right medication and the right treatment. And now I've been in remission ever since. You know, knock on wood, and I've been really healthy. So he's like, yeah, you're responding extremely well. And it's like a few people respond really well to the medication and like puts them in complete remission. And I seem to be one of those people, which is lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very fortunate because you mentioned John Hathaway. He left the
Yeah.
sport basically because of that
Yeah.
disorder, right?
Yeah. I think from what I can gather from his story, because I went through his story, obviously,
Mhm.
when I was in hospital, I was freaking out, trying to Google any fighters that have had it and whatnot. And I think he let his get pretty nasty before he did anything about it. And that's the thing with these autoimmune conditions. Once they start, like, it's like a snowball effect. Once they start getting some momentum, it's very hard to stop them. So I was pretty lucky that as soon as I started getting symptoms, because I'm kind of a health freak, I was like, what's going on? What's going on? And I was pestering the doctors. Some people, they don't get a diagnosis for 5 years, you know.
Wow.
So they've got these symptoms and they're homebound for 5 years. Doctor
Fuck.
doesn't know what's going on, and then they can't afford the right, you know, diagnostic stuff. So yeah, it's crazy. Some people have to deal with this stuff, and like I to be honest, I wouldn't have been able to like live another year like I was in 2020. I wouldn't have been able to work or do anything. So I would have had to get my bowel removed or something eventually, which is the case unfortunately for a lot of people.
Mm.
So yeah, crazy disease.
Yeah, man. But you know what? After that break, you didn't miss a step though. Like you came back and just started
Yeah.
knocking dudes off though. Like how was it like coming back from dealing with everything and then stepping into the cage again?
It was really intimidating. The first fight I had was, I remember I came back and I wasn't really sure actually if I wanted to fight so soon. And then Hex gave me an offer. They were kind of like bringing in a lot of like Filipino fighters for one of the Hex events, and they had a flyweight who kept trying to get onto the bantamweight. Sorry, who kept trying to get onto the show. So they offered me the fight. And I remember it was like 7 weeks out. I was like, oh, I was umming and ahhing about it because I was quite heavy. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that. And then I was like, you know what? I'm healthy now. I might as well take the opportunity whilst I'm healthy to do what I love and get back in there. And as soon as I got back in there and I got a win back on the board, I was like, let's string some wins together and have a real crack at this. Yeah.
Yeah, man. You did string a couple wins together. Double champ status. You know, the
Yeah.
first one, the first belt, you got the bantamweight belt. How was that performance for yourself, man? You know, stepping in there for a 5 round fight and snatching that up.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed to be honest with
Mm,
my performance. I spent so much time in the build up preparing for Cody Haddon,
mm,
and unfortunately, obviously things happened. He got injured, and it was quite close to the fight when he got injured. And I had a few different. Originally, I was meant to fight Emrahan, who
Yeah.
then pulled out like a couple of days after he said yes and said, no, he can't do it anymore. Not sure why. And then they offered me another Korean guy who had like a small record, but was actually, I could tell by watching his stuff, he was actually pretty good. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Hyon Lee, good bloke. And yeah, I was just a bit disappointed. I really wanted to get the finish for that. I know that's what the UFC were looking for. They wanted me to get a finish. And I kind of, the whole idea of me being the Aussie hometown boy, and they brought in this like, kind of a guy international that if he wins the belt, everyone's gonna be like, oh shit, like now he's got the title. Like that was my first moment where I was like, oh shit, there's actually quite a lot of pressure on me, and it was
Mhm.
good learning lesson for me because I just played it way too safe in that fight,
Mhm.
and I wish I had like just opened up a little bit more. I definitely probably would have got a finish, and but whatever, learning
Yeah.
lesson, no man, that's it. So I'm glad I went 5 rounds. That was cool
Mhm.
because my cardio was fine. Yeah,
Yeah. 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 You take those learning lessons and then you take it into the flyweight title fight
yeah,
in the next
yes.
one, and you do your damn thing, man. Like how did you feel about that one? It must have been a completely different.
Yeah, yeah, it's completely different. I obviously I was the hometown boy. We tried to get, you know, uh, Drilich or Nickel
Mhm.
at the time to fight, but they obviously were with their own promotions at the time. So we got someone from Ryzen to come in, and I was comfortable with that at this time. I was like, you know what, like it's a fight. If you're worried about external things like, oh, what if I lose and then this guy's the champion and then the promotion's going to be angry at me and upset, like that's not how the game works. So, um, yeah, I didn't let myself get distracted by that. I was just fully focused, and just because I changed my training as well. Started training with Ignite at that time, and I got like so much better. It was crazy because I just had a new perspective on my training. It's not that I had bad training in Melbourne. It was just that new perspective, a new set of eyes, and I really leveled up. And yeah, man, I think it just the results have been speaking for themselves, and I hope to continue to just build on that. Yeah,
Man, the one thing about the Australian scene, New Zealand included, is that a lot of times you guys fight each other before you guys get into the bigger organizations. So,
yeah,
like even going back to like Volkanovski, he fought like Jamie Malarkey back in the day. Like there's a lot of stories of that people don't really realize. And you guys are the same, especially your fight coming up. Drilich, he's the eternal champ. You're the Hex champ. It's like a co-promotion in the UFC, right?
yeah. It's pretty badass, honestly.
Yeah.
It's pretty badass, man. It's like unprecedented. Two Aussies going at it. I think it just speaks to the skill level and the level that we're at in Australia.
Mm.
Yeah, man, pretty damn exciting. Hey.
Yeah, and you guys are probably the two of the hardest punchers as well, which is like nuts at flyweight.
I know. It's weird. It's weird. I think they're probably just saying there's probably so many matchups on the table, like
Mm.
8-1 Drilich, 9-1 Gauci, left hand Drilich, right hand Gauci. I think they're just like, well, it makes sense. Let's just put them together. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna have to be on our toes and moving our
Mm.
head because we got pistons in our rear
Yeah.
hands for sure.
Dana's gonna say that, like, yeah, Sean Shelby, he's really pumped for this one. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's gonna say
Yeah.
that about this fight during the broadcast, most likely.
Yeah. Yeah, probably, bro. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
Now, when you look at Drilich, what do you see in his skill set? Like, what do you think of his fighting style?
What do I see? I see a big left hand. That's what I.
Mhm.
That's what I see.
Yeah.
Nah. Look, he's good at what he does. Like he's. My personal opinion. I think I'm a lot more well rounded than him.
Mhm.
I think I can put the MMA game together a lot better than he can. But he's just very dangerous. He's got his setups from a southpaw position. Um, Against an orthodox fighter. He's
Mhm.
very good at timing when fighters have their feet together or when they have, for example, a leg off the ground. He's very good at timing his left hand. And, obviously he hits hard. He does hit hard, obviously, but it's also his timing that is very good and very sneaky. And he does a few like things with his footwork to lull you to sleep and make you feel like you're doing good, or you need to like make up space that
Mhm.
he's creating, and then he'll put you in a position where he's going to fire off a shot. And that's what I see in his game. I just overall, when I compare myself skill for skill, I think that it's really, I think I'm a lot. more skillful. It's just he's very good with his tactics, especially from a southpaw position. So that's something we got to look out for.
Do you feel like he's like overly patient sometimes in his fights?
Overly patient. No, I don't. I think that is perfect for him. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's perfect for him, bro. Like, I think I've actually watched your podcast a little bit, and with Max
Yeah.
Leali, yeah.
Yeah.
He obviously fought Drilich, and I think he was just kind of trying to do too much
Mm-hmm.
in the fight, because Drilich was making him feel like that he was giving that real estate, and Drilich, I think Leali thought he was like, okay, he's letting me get away with all this stuff, but I think Drilich was like, nah. He had his plan. He knew what he was going to do, and as soon as he threw that inside low kick again, boom, and again, boom, and again, boom. So, I think he has his good setups from southpaw position, and if he knows he's got power in that left hand, why would you rush it?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about those guys is, if you overwhelm them, they can't just switch from being a patient fighter to all of a sudden being able to put combinations together and all this stuff. They can't. So it becomes like a mind game,
Yeah.
and then you got to trick them into thinking that they're okay, and then they're like, oh shit, maybe I got to go, and then yeah. So that's how you fight those types of fighters, and I look forward to implementing my game plan.
For sure. And, obviously people are going to be like, oh, you're the guy that beat Steve Erceg. But I'm not going to ask you about Steve Erceg. I'm going to ask you about the fight before that against Tim Moore, the
Yeah,
title
yeah.
fight. It was your only setback. It was
Boring
what did you
ass
learn?
fight.
What did you learn, though?
I learned just to respect the whole MMA game. I like, and I guess this speaks to Drilich too, probably. I think before he fought Michael Mann, you fall in love with like knocking people out or getting TKOs or whatever with your hands. It's very exciting, and everyone's like, "Wow, you're so hard. It's so cool." But I just learned in that fight that I had holes. Like, if a guy wanted to wrestle me against the cage for 3 rounds, it's not on the refs. It's not the refs' responsibility to break us up. It's not it's not the fact that he's being boring. It's the fact that I can't get out and I'm losing. So I just learned you got to respect the entire game, mate. You can't just focus on maybe doing a little bit of jiu-jitsu and wrestling and mainly focusing on stand up. No, you got to be black belt at wall wrestling, grappling, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, all of it. So that's what I learned in that fight. And I also learned that I was a bit too small still. Like, I think I walked into the cage in that fight at about 61. And I remember speaking with Tim afterwards and he was 67. So I was like, oh, okay. That he did feel really strong. And I was just a boy, I was like 19. So I was just a young kid. I didn't really understand the game at that point. I think he had like 20 fights or something. And he just had experience and knowledge, and he really showed that. Yeah.
Your team, the team that has built you throughout the years. Talk about them,
Yeah.
the coaches, your teammates. They're so vital, man.
Yeah, yeah. So I obviously grew up in Melbourne, and I'm living in the Sunshine Coast at the moment and training at Ignite. But my team that has raised me, Dominance MMA, been vital for me. Yeah, like you said, they just I don't know, just a perfect foundation of martial arts. Like, I had when I first started at Dominance, I was actually spoiled rotten. Like, I didn't really realize it at the time, but I had Talga Ilyasov, who was one of Australia's best wrestlers, doing the wrestling classes, and he would like put so much time and effort into me when I was a young kid. Like, he would come an hour before the class, do an extra hour with me to wrestle because I didn't know how to wrestle, and I got really good at wrestling in like a short period of time. Like, after that Tim fight, I really focused on my wrestling, and then I had Dave Hart for my jiu-jitsu, and I think the results of Dominance speak for themselves with that. In that regard, one of the best jiu-jitsu gyms in Australia, if not probably the best, pound for pound. I mean, like, numbers wise. And then my striking coach at the time was Trail Dowie, who's had a lot of K1 fights and was a great mind for MMA and great for my mentality. So I was spoiled rotten as a kid, and that's how I got good really fast. It wasn't anything I was doing. I was working hard, obviously, but it was just the good group of people around me that I had. And then after I left the sport and started focusing on other things, I started training with Sam Greco, and he became my striking coach. And if you look at those coaches, And if someone said, "Oh, this kid's got blah blah blah," such Sam, Dave, and Talgett as his coach, you're going to turn around and say, "Well, he's going to be good." You know, it doesn't matter who the kid is; he's going to be good. So I owe a lot to them, and I'll always be grateful for how much they did for me in my come up. And now I'm at Ignite with Ryan Dunstan and the team there, and they're just kind of picking up where we left off and making me just a more refined, better MMA fighter. Because at Dominance, I was doing little things, but not putting it all together. Here, I'm putting it all together. And they're also bringing in lots of people for me to train with. And I'm just a priority, you know. So feels great on both ends. Grateful for both of them. Yeah.
Yeah, what does the rest of the camp look like? The last couple of weeks. I believe you guys are on what, the second to last show, something like that.
Yeah. 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 I'm not sure if I can even say really when we're on still, but like, yeah, it's the worst. Like Mitch Tinley said it, it's the worst kept secret in Aussie MMA at this point. But yeah, I've got 2 weeks roughly left, and I'll probably have another hit out. Obviously wearing all the protective gear, and then it'll just be kind of reactionary stuff from there, and short, sharp sessions. So I really try and keep it like from now on. I've already done the hard work. Hard work's been done since I was 15 years old. You know, I don't need to now start doing long runs or anything like that. I feel like some fighters towards their end of the camps, it's like they try and it's like when they cram for an exam, they like stuff everything in to the end of their camp, and they're still like training super hard, fight week and stuff. For me, it's about staying loose and keeping my reaction time like elite. And if my reaction times are really good, yeah, I don't think I'll even get hit. Yeah.
Yeah, how does it feel, man, to be part of that next wave from that part of the world? You know, you have Whitaker, you have Volkanovski, you have Adesanya, you have all these guys at the top, but they're kind of like at the tail end of the
Yeah.
career. Let's be real, you know what I mean? It's just the reality.
Yeah.
You are starting off, and you guys, you know, no matter what, you guys will probably both be in the UFC.
Yeah, wow, it's crazy actually, bro. Because I tell you what's weird is Drilich and I are both veterans.
Mhm.
Like we're not actually like I know what you're saying, and you're right. We are the new wave to enter the UFC. But I've been fighting. I had my first fight in 2014.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's 2024 now, and I've been fighting for ages. And I think Drilich is the same. So, and so was Steve Urseg. You know, and just I think we're just all at such a high level. Um, I went to a Hex event like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was like, holy crap, man! The level of talent in Australia, I think pound for pound around the world, we had the best talent. Like especially regional scene wise, you got Harry Webb, you've got George Mangos coming through. Obviously didn't like my teammate losing, but that guy that beat Mike Marwan Rahiki,
Mhm.
just super talented people coming through. So it's exciting times, and I think the true new wave after me is going to be even bigger and better.
Yeah, I think the reason for that is that the best is fighting the best.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed, bro.
No
It
padded
gets kind of
records.
weird. It gets kind of weird. Like the thing I'm not liking at the moment is the promotional stuff.
Mm,
Um, that's what I kind of like. Don't get me wrong. Hex Fight Series amazing. Treated me perfectly. I would recommend them to any fighter, but yeah, I just wish there wasn't any. I just wish we could fight anyone at any time. And I'm not saying Hex is the one really that's holding people back. I think it's just I just wish everyone could fight everyone. There's no exclusivity, you know, because I think we are almost kind of moving away from that, where
mm,
we're fighting the best of fighting each other. And that if we can keep it like people can fight, the Hex champ can fight the Eternal champ, or the Eternal champ can fight the beatdown fighter.
mm.
That would be awesome, bro. And we need to keep that in Aussie MMA so everyone like stays as good as possible.
Yeah, definitely that needs to happen. But you know, MMA, it's a weird
Yeah,
sport. It's a weird
yeah,
sport.
bro. It is. It is a weird sport. It is a weird sport.
October 8th, man, Contender Series. You flying over to Las Vegas, UFC Apex. Sean, man, thank you so much for taking the time. All the best to
Thanks,
you.
bro.
And hopefully the next time we're talking, man, you're making your UFC debut.
Thanks, bro. I've been watching you for a long time, man. So it feels good to finally get an interview in. But yeah, thank you. I
Appreciate it,
appreciate it.
man. Appreciate it, man.